That's right. You can try to blame the Greeks and say they've got too big of pension funds. Well, the general public doesn't have pension funds. They have very high taxes in Greece. And the EU wanted to raise even more taxes selectively on them to not just bail out Greece's debts, but the rest of the EU debts. And no one's had to pay for more of the private derivatives, fiat, counterfeit garbage than the Germans. Then it's the Americans. And then it's the Chinese taxpayer that have pumped tens of trillions of dollars and yens and yans and euros into propping up what J.P. Morgan and others have created, 2.2 quadrillion in fraudulent instruments. Now, when you're Bernie Madoff and you create a couple $100 billion in fraudulent garbage, you end up going to prison for the tens of billions of it that was fraud. But when you're the head of Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan, you run the federal banking commissions and you go and sit in the hearings and tell them how to fix everything. And back then, Treasury Secretary in 2008, Paulson, this came out in mainstream news, went into closed session of Congress and said there will be tanks and blood in the streets within 48 hours if you don't give us unlimited capital. And it wasn't just the $878 billion they wanted. It was the unlimited open window at the market committee of the Federal Reserve, and it was the green light to be protected and to have the public sign on to the current derivatives and all future derivatives. And the Wall Street Journal did carry that back at the time in an article, Shock Forced Paulson's Hand. Oh, yes, they were so shocked. No, they orchestrated that whole situation. Even the head of the Texas Banking Association has written articles exposing that, and they've taken over most of the brokerage firms, most of the regional banks, most of the small banks. Now they want the credit unions. The big six banks globally are taking out their competition and want to move towards getting rid of cash. So you're forced to stay in the banks so they can take whatever money they want directly out of your bank accounts. And you're saying, oh, really, that'll never happen. Oh, really, this is what they're calling for at Davos. This is what they're trying to normalize in the media with trial balloons to acclimate the sheeple in the last few months. Here it is, Financial Times of London. Greek banks prepare plan to raid deposits to avert collapse. If you raid deposits, historically, that's what destroys confidence, which, if you get the documents from 2002 that were leaked from the World Bank and IMF, when Joseph Stiglitz left, not saying he leaked them, they just got released. There was a plan to then do this in the next coming decade or so in the West. They've done this tactic with third world countries, buying off the politicians, getting them to sign on to debt, getting them to invest pension funds, public and private, in derivatives. Once they're infected, even 1 or 2%, no one can tell you how much. You've got to sign on to the thousands of trillions and growing, or it all fails. So see, they infect it, get you to then sign on to it, and then government can come in with regulatory power to save the too big to fail facade, which is actually designed to fail down the road, and get bailout after bailout after bailout to the private central banks. That's really a open tax directly from taxpayers to the private central banks. That's always been their dream. But when this system finally fails, when they've milked us over and over and over again, they will propose the new global currency, which they're modeling after the strategic drawing right, which is another way of Madoff-style, made-up Ponzi scheme derivatives that are digital zeros and ones in a computer. That's it. And then every global currency that's faltering signs on to that to be stabilized for a time. They will then back off the economy, let prosperity flourish for a while. After they've already consolidated all the countries they've imploded, they'll roll out for a decade or so with prosperity, getting us deeper into debt. It'll be fake prosperity, faux prosperity, synthetic prosperity, and then the mega hammer will be dropped. And they will fully get rid of the previous currencies that were in place, rolling them in to the new super global digital cashless currency after a decade of the public being trained to thumbprint and face scan to buy and sell, and that cash is the devil, and that cash is the enemy, and that people running on European and U.S. and North American banks caused the collapse of 2016 or 2017. They always blame the free market. They always blame freedom for what they've publicly done. And they always sign the public on to their debts.